Hari Om. Welcome back to Vedānta Jñana Yajña, the 44th week. Shall we begin with the invocation to Gurudev? Kindly join me. समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम Hari Om. In the last session, we said purity of your mind and clarity of your thoughts, the knowledge. These are the two most important fundamentals upon which the entire Shastra wants us to build our education, our study of the knowledge of the self, what we call as Brahmavidyā, self-knowledge. The 4 steps that were discussed last time were, first, that the Vedas, the scriptures, should be read daily. In a small dose, every day, recite, read, so that slowly the goal of life becomes clearer, and that every day you are pointed and you are reminded what your goal is. It is very easy in this world, samsara, that which moves continuously, that which changes continuously. It's easy to forget your goal. Therefore, daily read scriptures. The second point, what the scriptures advise us, walk on them, use them in your life. Do not just read and leave it aside. They need to be worked upon. The third and the fourth advice was karma yoga. Third point was that these actions should be done with perfect focus, complete dedication. Your entire body, mind and intellect should be utilized. Not doing it half-heartedly or just doing because the word is to be done. It's your duty to be done. Because it's my duty, I do it. That should not be the attitude. The attitude should be, it is my duty and so I perform it to the best of my ability. The second part of Karma Yoga, whatever we do, we dedicate it to the Lord Almighty, so that you do not become the architect anymore of the future karmas. Why? What will happen if the future karmas are dedicated to you? The same thing. Once again a new life, once again death, once again life. The cycle of life and death will never end. Remember the goal, self-realization, breaking the bondage of this cycle. Moving ahead today, the next instruction that Shastra tells us is to wash away all the sins from your heart. So the moment we hear the word sin, we say, okay, am I a sinner? It is not the question whether we are sinners or not. The very reason that we are here in this human form It signifies that our karmas were not of the best, of the most utmost beautiful quality. Therefore, we are still in this samsara, the world. So, what is sin? The Shastras explain to us, sins are those thoughts, those actions which pollute your mind and heart. Now you decide, what are those actions, what are those thoughts which pollute your mind? The whole idea is purity of mind. Then if your thoughts are entertained with those kind of feelings and thoughts which in return once again make you greedy, make you lusty, make you want more and more, do you think it will work? No. On one hand you will work for purity, on the other hand you will again pollute. That will not do. It is just like an example for a person who does pranayama every day morning. Why? Because with pranayama, my health becomes better, especially my heart and my lungs, they become perfect in the morning. And the rest of the day, what does he do? He smokes. Do you think it will work? Nay. Therefore, purity of your heart should be maintained. And once again, this point takes you back to the point number 1. Therefore, reading the scriptures, listening to the scriptures, listening to talks, being with people who are like-minded will help you in washing away all your deep-rooted desires which are going to pollute you further. Up till now, the injunctions or the instructions were related to our karmas, isn't it? But now it goes to that which is a change in mental attitude. This is where it gets difficult. Let's see what the Shastra tells us next. It says, the joys of the world, all the joys of the world are riddled with only sorrow. Difficult, isn't it? All the joys of the world are riddled with sorrow. The reason is, the joys of the world come to us with the sense objects of the world contacting the senses of the body. In other words, the senses go out in the world and contact the sense objects. The eyes want to see what they want to see. The tongue wants to taste. The hands want to feel, so on and so forth. Meaning, you are moving towards desire-prompted actions. There are actions which are desire-prompted, which come from a deep-rooted desire of satisfying that particular feeling, that desire. These actions, for a bit of moment, just for momentarily, it may satisfy your desire. Just for a moment. And as soon as that moment is passed away, it is once again the same. It leaves you with only anxiety for more. It keeps you hanging, just like they say. You hang a carrot in front of a donkey and he'll keep running to get it and your cart will keep going. Or back in India, they say that he has asked to put some ghee over here and he is asking you to lick it. It is impossible to lick. You will try all your life, you will never reach. It is that way. In Bhagavad Gita, this particular desire to fulfill your little bit of joy is called samsparshaja, means those joys which are fulfilled with the contact of the senses and the sense objects. For example, a simple sweetmeat. A thought erupts in your mind. I want to eat ladara chocolate. And that thought will keep poking your mind like an irritant till you actually get the chocolate in your hand and place it on your tongue. And the moment you place it on the tongue, you feel, this is life. And then you revel in it for 5 seconds and you gulp it down, and that's it. From the tongue to the throat, the distance is 8 to 10 centimeters. That's all. And then what it leaves you with? Desire, craving for more. And therefore the second, therefore the third. It doesn't end there. It keeps a longing in your mind for future actions. This is what the worldly joys are. You take it in any field. Why do you think people ask this? What's in it for me? Why do you think they ask? Because they are always wanting to know what is their benefit. Why they want to know their benefit? Because they feel their joys are attached to that. No doubt, every single human being, right from the worst category to the highest category people, everyone wants joy in life. Don't we too want joy? Yes, we do. But how to reach that joy? What kind of joys are you trying to achieve? These thoughts have to be done, and that modification of the mind has to be there. It is said that the worldly joys give us pain is because, one, that chocolate which came to your tongue, it did not satisfy your urge of having sweet forever, did it? No. In fact, the second, it created more desire for the same thing in the future. So what you wanted the chocolate for, to fulfill your desire, is not done. At the same time, it has already created some more desires in you for future. This is not joy which liberates. This is joy which binds. And worldly joy only and only binds. Therefore, Shastra says, think deeply, viveka, discriminate. What is this joy? What is that joy? And then understand. The knowledge of the self, those who have experienced even a wee bit of that joy of consciousness, the joy which comes from within, the joy which is not dependent on any contact, they will explain to us what it means. For example, ask a fabulous painter who has completed his painting, and he is sitting and is observing, and ask him his joy. Ask a carpenter who has just completed his masterpiece of a table, and he is watching. Ask a scientist who has just solved the problem. The joys they enjoy is far more greater than the joys of others. Still, these are joys which are related to the world. Imagine that joy, that anand, which is absolute bliss, which is called as knowledge of the self. This is where the next instruction comes. The next instruction says that intensify your longing for this knowledge, the knowledge of the self, the joy which will not leave you hanging like a trishanku, not here, not there, in the middle of nowhere. That knowledge which will take you through, which will once dawned in you, will remain forever. Why? because that is the knowledge which is independent of any objects, anything, or any being. It is the knowledge which comes inside. This intense knowledge, this intense feeling should be developed in us. Therefore, intensify the longing of self-knowledge. How do we do that? By Vedānta Satsanga, by Vedānta Vichara, by Vedānta Shravana. Shravana means to listen. Vichara means to think. Satsanga means to be in the company of like-minded people, so that your mind becomes single-pointed and you move to the direction which is going to take us to the next point. The last point that we would like to discuss today is a very tough one, is something which you will have to sit back and think deeply. The last instruction is that leave the house and never return. What? Leave the house and never return. You mean to say I should leave the house and go away? The Shastra is saying that. Leave the house and never return. What? What do you mean by that? Then what will happen to all this? Remember, this is not the first instruction given to us. This is, if at all in number wise we put it, it is number 8. We have been listening to Vedanta, to our Vedānta Jñana Yajña from 10 months now, from January to now. Today, Shastra is advising you, leave the house and never return. It has to have some deeper meaning than just the words. Remember what the Rig Veda, the Shruti says, it always says, Shrutim Patha Gurun Mukha, that you should study Vedas or scriptures through the understanding and the speech of a guru. This is a classical example for that. Why? Because the words absolutely say that. Turnam vinir gamyatam, leave the house immediately. But here, what is the house? The question is, what is this house? Of course, just like at a particular age, when we want to go for higher education, and there is such a burning desire to go and achieve that degree, don't you leave your own home, the comforts of your house, the shelter of your parents, the safety of your father, and go in a faraway land so that you achieve the goal, don't we? So many times we have left our homes for a higher education. So many times we have left our home for greater and better jobs. Don't we shift out of our house, out of a country for a better lifestyle and better living? Have we never heard of this? So why are we so shocked if to reach to the highest goal in life, the self-knowledge, the knowledge of the self, which is not to be found in any other subject, anywhere outside in the world? Why are we so shocked? Because we want to be in the security of our home. Therefore, so many people ask, so do you mean to say self-knowledge can be achieved only outside, not in your house? They also give us example of great people. Like Bhagwan Sri Ram himself was a householder, wasn't he? They give the example of Raja Janaka, the father of Sita Ma. To this time, very recently, Vidya Swamigal, one of the greatest rishis of our times, he was a householder. How did all of them achieve this knowledge being in the household? But then the vivek, that is the discrimination ability of their mind, the vairagya, the dispassion which they had towards the world. Do we have the same? If we have, yes, Shastra never says that leave your family and go away. Therefore, it requires a closer look to understand this statement. The statement says, leave the house and never return. In Gurudev's word, Pujya Gurudev has said, in simple words, a house is a safe haven for us from where we stay and contact the world outside. What Gurudev is indicating is the identification we have with this body, with this mind, and with this intellect. We consider this as us, as me. If someone asks me, who are you? I give him the name of this body. That is the level of identification we are having with our body. This body is the house which Shastra is indicating. That the knowledge that you're searching for, that you're looking for, is much deeper. It is Desha Kala Vastu, meaning space, time, and objects. Aparichinna, beyond all that. The knowledge is beyond all that, and that knowledge is you, your own self. But we have come to identify ourselves as the body, mind, and intellect, as the perceiver, feeler, and thinker of what? Of objects, emotion, and thoughts. Haven't we? We have come to bind ourselves to this 5.5 feet body, with this limited kind of intellect, with this limited kind of intelligence which remembers X, Y, Z. And that is what is considered as me. But what Shastra says, break this identification and let yourself be free. Identify with the self within. And this is the meaning, real meaning, or the Laksha Artha, the deep-rooted meaning of this body is like a house, and you are enlivening this house. Until and unless you don't leave this house, how can you reach to the higher? Isn't it fabulous? This is what Shastra is. This is what we have to contemplate. Therefore, before we started this second part, I told you that the next 4 instructions require deep reflection and thinking. Vedānta Shastra, the knowledge of the self, cannot be gained without reflection. There are 3 steps which Shastra has said. 1, Shravana, listening. 2, Manana, reflecting. And 3, Nididhyasana, living that knowledge, abiding in that knowledge, being the knowledge itself. With these few words, we take a Madhya Viram here. But in the following sessions, the instructions go even further. For those who say they can't leave the house. Why? Because there are genuine reasons. They have responsibilities. They are bound down by their families. How such individuals also can reach that knowledge? I hope you grasped something today. And if you have heard, contemplate. If you think you have missed something, listen to it again. Again and again when you think of the same knowledge. That is what Vedanta is asking you to do. First listen and then think on the same thing again and again and again. In this way, your mind will remain focused and your goal will never be taken off from your mind. kindly join me in thanking Bhagwan, in thanking our gurus, our rishis, who have explained to us such difficult topics with so much of care, with brilliant examples. The subtler the topic, the more difficult it is to explain by words. And we are speaking of the subtlest of the subtle. Therefore, thank Bhagwan, thank Gurudev, thank Guruji, thank our parents. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om to one and all. I shall be waiting for you all in the next session.